What's going on, everybody? Eric Wamsley here, systems engineer with Nutanix, and I wanted to show y'all some pretty detailed technical stuff, but it's just freaking awesome. Okay, I've been with Nutanix at the time of this video for a little bit over 9.5 years, and I've never run across this command. And I was looking into something, and I ended up talking with one of our principal engineers, John Kohler. Look him up if you haven't. Amazing resource, fun guy, great guy, does amazing presentations as well. And he put me on this command called vdisk usage printer. And what it does is it gives you statistics for a specific vdisk. And if you're a VMware person, that means a VMDK or virtual machine disk, right? So what we're doing here is we're looking at a very specific one to a test VM I have. And each of these rows is an extent group. That's just your blocks of data. And so you can see here 3 meg, 3 meg, 2 meg, 4 meg, right? It's all of our data that my user VM has written to disk. On the right side, though, which is the amazing, cool, sweet, man, I love Nutanix part, is the second to the last column over here on the right, the replicas. Okay, I'm on a 4-node cluster that's running RF2 storage. Remember, RF2 means there's 2 distributed, distinct copies of every user data block. So when you save your pictures of your cats, donkeys, sunsets, rainbows, and unicorns, it breaks it up into multiple extent groups. Each extent group is written 2 times in RF2, 3 times with RF3. And what it's showing us here, each of these square blocks is a block of your data written to disk. So the first number is the actual disk ID, the second is the CVM's ID, the third is the block ID, and the third is the rack. I do not have rack awareness configured. I'm running a 3460, which is 4 nodes in the same rack, so you see all of them are R36. And then we've got all of our CVMs here, right? So 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then all the disks. You can see all these lovely, lovely, lovely disks, okay? And it's just so freaking cool because I have always talked about, especially even my last couple of videos, which is kind of ironic I came across this at this time, about how failover works, how RF2, RF3 works, how cluster resiliency works. And I tried to show a little bit of proof that it was working the way I say it works, right? The 1 local, 1 remote copy, or 1 local 2 for RF3, by going to the disks column inside of, oh, my mouse is not working, inside of Prism Central. Here we go. All right, so if you go to all your disks, you can kind of see disk usage, right? And in one of my other videos, I was writing a random amount of data and you could see the information kind of increase, but you didn't get this by the extent group level. It's just so cool. So the other thing I wanted to do is I just want to make a disk real quick and just show you what it looks like when it's empty, because I did practice this part where we attach a disk. We're just going to make a 20 gig disk. Okay, so it is on my VM. Yep, there we go. And if we go back to the command line, so right now I am SSH'd into a CVM on my cluster. And the name of my VM is Eric Rocky, because it's Rocky Linux. And I'm just running this NCLI command that just shows the high-level statistics and configuration information of my virtual machine. As you can see here, vdisks, I've got 3. So something else that I was working on, I needed these 2 disks. So this is my new one. So I've got this command, which is the disk config printer. We just need to get the vdisk ID real quick. Okay, so this is all the information about my vdisk right here. Snapshots, locations, all that fun stuff. But all I care about is this vdisk ID right here. So let me copy and paste that real quick so we don't lose it. And vdisk printer. Okay, so this is that vdisk that I just made 20-30 seconds ago. So I'm assuming, well, that's, oh, nope, that's the wrong one. Hang on. That's one that already exists. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. So it must be this one that we need. So let's go up. get this one. vdisk ID. Then we run this command. Copy and paste the ID in here so we only look at that vdisk. Alright, there we go. That's much better. Okay. Alright, so this is our brand new vdisk. So what we're looking at, let me clear the page. Run the command again, just so it looks a little easier to read. Okay. So we're looking at what is physically on our storage devices. This system is an all-flash SSD device, or all-flash SSD storage. But even if you're running hybrid, even if you're running NVMe, it would still be showing us data if it's written. Okay. So right now, size 0, because we haven't written anything. Let's actually log into that VM. Oh, timed out. Let me log in real quick. Okay, so we should see, okay, we've got this drive right here that's unmounted. It's 20 gigs, that's the one we just made. Let's go ahead and let's double check, make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing. Okay, don't care about anything else. All right, so dev sddd. So we want ext mk fs ext4 dev sdd. Gotta run it while sudo. Silly. Okay, so what I just did for any folks that aren't as familiar with Linux, or if I went too fast, is I just said, hey, I want you to format this device with ext4. Okay, now what we need to do is actually create a directory. So we'll just call it storage. And we're going to mount dev sdd to storage. And then if we print our storage information, here's our new device. See, SDD, 20 gigs. There's a little bit of overhead from the file system itself. That's not Nutanix. That's from ext4 overhead. Let's do ls block real quick just so we can quadruple check. All right, so there's our system right there. Okay, who am I? Okay, I'm logged in as the Nutanix user. Let's actually just change the ownership real quick. See that storage directory. Oh, again, need to use sudo. Har. What a noob. All right, so let's go to storage. And what I'm typing here, this command is list everything in this directory in human readable format. There's 16K, 20, okay. Let's go back to the CVM. Now that we have formatted that drive, let's see what it looks like with the extent group. Okay, so that's super cool because we can see that, remember again, on our actual user VM, it is using 24K from the file system overheads when I formatted it with ext4. And it's written, what is that, 20 something, 26 extent groups for about 4.7 megabytes. We can generate some fake data real quick. Path would be storage test file 1. Okay, so what we're doing is there's this command called dd, which stands for disk destroyer, wink wink. We are taking data from dev urandom, which is just the random data generator inside of Rocky Linux. Output file is to that storage directory, and then I'm making a file called test file 1.bin, and we want it to print out in 1 megabyte chunks, and I want to do that 10 times, so 10 times 1 is 10, so we're going to have a 10 meg file. Let's go. Okay, so that's done. Obviously 10 megabytes is really small. If we print our storage usage, look at that. Now there's 11 meg. Remember there was that 24K. It's just rounding for us because I have it in human format. If we're still in storage. If we print everything in this directory, there's our test file. It's 10 megs in size. If we go back over to the CVM and run that VDisk printer, oh yeah, this is awesome. I love it. Okay, so remember up here, this is the second time I ran it before we printed anything. And it's just using 4.7 megs, and it's got the 26 extents. We wrote 10 MIB bytes of data, and now it's at 14, and there's 10 more extents. And oh, actually, also I didn't even realize T-type. That means transfer type. No, transform type. C means compression. None means none. There's also dedupe and erasure coding. So you can see that these ones here, like at the top, it wrote to disk, or it would have written 1 megabyte of data to disk, but it compressed it down to 132K. So it's only 12% of the original size. That's pretty sick. But look over here on the replicas. Everything immediately, right, has 2 copies. Because again, in RF2, Nutanix will always wait to commit every write until there is 2 distributed and distinct copies of your data blocks. And, okay, this is cool. I didn't even realize this when I was testing earlier. So look where my mouse is, right? So this is the SVM. That's our old school way of saying CVM. It's on the same CVM for 1 copy. And then if you notice 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 5, 5, 5, 6, 7, 5. It's all those remotes. So that proves that all the videos I've been doing and all the teaching and education and troubleshooting, everything I've been doing the last 9.5 years is actually true. That we always attempt to write 1 local copy and 1 remote. Let's actually check. So what you can do is, what's the command? SVM IPs. I think it's dash D. Yep. Okay, so it's saying SVM, so CVM 8. That coincides with the .32 IP address for the CVM. So what I want to look real quick is I'm going to see where does my virtual machine live, because it should be on the host that is holding 32. So if we go to VMs, Eric, actually I was already on the page, wasn't I? So go to Eric Rocky. It is on this host right here. If we click on it, CVM IP 66.32. 66.32. That's just so cool to actually see that in action, that we have 1 remote copy, sorry, 1 local copy, 1 remote, local, remote, local, remote, local, remote, local, remote. Oh, Nutanix is so cool. Let's write another 10 meg. So let's do test file 2. Okay, it's written. Let's do df-h to verify. Yep, 21 megs. If we do list my directory, 2 files. Okay. Then if we come over here, let's clear up the screen to make it look a little nicer. Print info. Oh, did it not? Oh, that's embarrassing. How long does it take? Did I go too much? 2663. 663. Might not have just updated the. There we go. I was just too excited, did it too quickly. So let's run it again. I guess it probably takes a second for VDisk printer to get these stats. So now we've got 20 megs, whereas before we had 14. So it'll keep going up. If we wrote 10 gigs of data, this would say 10 gigs, right? If you got 15 terabytes, of course you've had a ton of rows, so that would be absolutely massive. But that's that. This is VDisk usage printer, and if you couldn't tell from my voice, this was probably one of my most favorite videos I've ever recorded. Probably should have recorded my face. Y'all could see my excitedness and hand motions and waving around. You know, if I had a cat or something, I probably would have knocked it off my desk. Well, this is so cool. This is obviously something that really has no practical application. right? I mean, I would not recommend at all that you pull out your hair and add stress to your lives by thinking you have to go and run this command. It was just something I wanted to share with the community so that you could actually see how Nutanix is truly writing your extents inside extent groups and all the replicas across your clusters. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and have a great day.